Welcome, all you lovely goblins and ghouls of the internet. I am Anya, your demonic cinephile, and we are back to talk about the very first episode of the Mayfair Witches. Now, for a quick little brush up, for those who don't know, the Mayfair Witches is based off the life of the Mayfair Witches, a book trilogy by Anne Rice. Apparently, the first season is based off the first book, The Witching Hour. I'm not exactly sure how much, because I started the book a little bit too late, and I didn't realize how long it was. So I am currently in. What page am I on? Yeah, I'm on page. I'm at chapter 9, so I'm just gonna. There's too many pages for me to check. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'm in chapter 8. No, not chapter 6. Yeah, the book is so long. I forgot. It's been a while since I read a book by Anne Rice, and I forgot how long she can be with her descriptions and narrations. So it's taking a little bit while for me to get through. So I don't. So it'll be kind of interesting reading the book while watching the first season. But their very first episode, um, it did have some things I remember from the book. It also some other things, which I'm not sure are taken from later chapters or them just reimagining the events for this interpretation. No, but so the very first episode, we switch back from the modern present to the past, which I can only assume it's the 90s, late 80s. I'm not really sure about the time period. We follow Ronan, a doctor who has some mystic abilities that she does not know about. And these come from her mother, who lives in New Orleans, and her family, which are apparently all witches, or at least the women are. We're not exactly sure how this works yet. I'm not exactly sure how this works yet because the book has not fully explained it. In terms of acting wise and cinematography and everything like production style, this was a good pilot. It lets you gave you a good feel of the atmosphere, the very New Orleans witchcrafty feel. The parts with being in Seattle were just very blue and like rainy, which I'm guessing which Seattle is like that. I've never been to Seattle, so let me know. But in terms of actual plotting, I have to say this probably was not a really good pilot. This pilot felt very overstuffed, if I'm to be honest. Because you follow, because the pilot is constantly cutting back from the past to the present, and it does so with no real flair. As I think I should say. Because normally when you edit a film or TV show, you don't, unless you want to do something very stylized, you don't want the edits to be very noticeable. That's kind of the point. You don't really want your audience to notice the edits because it's going to interrupt the flow of the storytelling. It's going to interrupt the actor's performance. But with this one, how they switched from back to the past to the present, you couldn't really tell half the time. And I'm not saying like you need on the bottom of the screen saying the year, but you could add like a filter over the screen. You could lit it a little bit differently, a little bit just like a little bit darker, a little bit lighter. I didn't really think this was a yeah, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. Like if I didn't read the book, I would not have known. Like I would probably been confused for a minute. So yeah, we have our main character played by Rosalia, not Rosalia Dawson. No, I'm about to say. How did I forget her name already? I love this woman in almost everything she's in. How am I forgetting her name? Um, Give me a minute. Alexander Daddario. I said she's giving a very mild, good performance, decent. Uh, I don't really think she ever really gave a bad performance. Probably the Percy Jackson movies, but that was more the studio and directors than actually her. Everyone else, I want to say was a bit weak. Um, because for her character in his first episode, we have her mother who is dying of cancer, and this all happens within the very first episode. And this one I'm trying to mean with this episode felt bloated. Um, so we have everything happening in the present with her. So we have her mother is dying of cancer. This happens throughout the whole episode. To get the prognosis, you see her during chemo, then she dies. But for also going with Ronan, she's having this kind of on and off thing with this guy who works at this bar. We have her learning, talking about her past, about her being probably kind of like haunted. We we are told constantly that Ronan has a great intuition of with her patients because she is a doctor. But this is the kind of thing though where I'm getting with the badness, I guess you can say, of the episode. We never really see it. We have one good scene that shows it when her boss tries to show off in front of his superiors and tries to take over the surgery, and they almost kill a kid. And that was a good scene, but that's all we really get. We don't really get a sense of Ronan's intuition that she is mystically like she has this mystical sense about the world. Now you can get away with that in the book, because in the book is a book, and Rice really does go into these great narrations and descriptions. They go a bit too far. I want to say a couple times. Sometimes she can get a little too wordy and tracks off, but you can do that in a book. You can do that in a book. You can't really do that in a show. And the fact that we didn't really get a good sense of this mystical sense of hers, the fact that it has to be told to the audience instead of actually really shown, I thought was a very it wasn't really good. There's ever since the episode being bloated. Then we have the part of the story that's being taken place in the past. Now, before we get that, I also want to see. We go to Rowan trying to save her mother by working for this other company, and it's introduced and it goes away really quickly. Like it was like a non-thing. Like you don't, except for like her accidentally killing or hurting. I'm not exactly sure what he said it was. This guy. It's basically taken out. Like it has no true impact on the story. And this also goes to the fact with Ronan's power that she can sometimes kill or maybe hurt people, cause like an aneurysm to occur. And this happens to two people in the show. One is her chief surgeon who treats her, who doesn't care about her, he puts her down either because she's a woman or he thinks that she's like knows more than him because she kind of does. The other is this jerky a-hole CEO who basically wants her to be part of his team. Like they go over the top with this guy. Like the first time he gets her in his office, he has his open bathroom and he just pisses basically in front of her, and it was so cartoony. Without that happen, I understand that probably can't happen in real life. There's probably a bunch of a-holes to do that, but it like happened so suddenly. I wasn't sure know if I had to face palm or laugh at the absurdity of it. But after it happened, you can kind of brush it away. Then the mom dies, and she meets the demon spirit thing. Now, when you get to the past, though, it is like a whole year in flashbacks from main Deidre. I always keep mispronouncing that name, but you have the character Deidre, Rowan's mother, and we get from her. We learn about her and Lasher like right away. There's no secret build up to this character, and then we had this awesome party, which I think was made up for the show because that's how she gets pregnant, and in the book it's a completely different scenario. And then it's another flashback, then boom, baby pops out at the very end. Which is that I had not got through even halfway through this book yet. But I would just to give a quick little my thoughts on the book so far. I basically kind of stopped like halfway about I'm guessing where episode 2 will pop up, and I'm not really enjoying Ronan in the book. She's not really focused on her, at least not yet. It's on this other character, so I can't really have a good sense of her personality. I do like what Rosario Dawson is. Rosario Dawson. Why can I say this woman's name today? But no, I'm loving how she is interpreting the character. Alexander Daddario. Why am I getting confused with Rosario Dawson for some dumb reason? But I liking how she is portraying the character. She is bringing a life in her that I have not yet seen from the character in the book. But when it comes to the book, well, I did kind of criticize Rice and how she can drag on with these narrations, these descriptions. The very first chapter of the book is still my favorite. And because it plays out like this old ghost story about this doctor who goes to this woman's house to treat her, and he starts seeing visions. He starts having these weird like interactions with this being, and all these different stories about the women that live in the house. It freaks him out. He has to leave, and does connect it later to other parts of the book, from what I can tell so far. But it plays out like this really awesome ghost story. And this doctor character, which I'm guessing they are extending the character's role in the story, but it's barely anything. It's just the opening of the show to the ending of the show. So I'm guessing we'll see more of him, but I'm kind of disappointed that wasn't like the very first episode. Not to book accuracy, just because I thought that was just an awesome just ghost story upon itself. Another chapter that I noticed that they omitted from the book, which I want to say is the chapter I read before, is chapter 5, where we get a very good insight on Deidre. Like I said, I can't pronounce that freaking name. Deidre backstory with a friend of hers she kind of grew up with, or at least knew from high school. And this character was very fun to read. Has this strong personality, and it has this which was actually like the very first scary scene in the book, where a pregnant Deidre comes down, about to come downstairs to greet her friend who she hasn't seen in like years, like she hasn't seen like in a long time, and her when her aunt picks Deidre up and starts carrying her back to her room, screaming. Deidre's trying to throw a card to get help for her. Then one of the other aunts, it basically like holding, like has her kind of like in a hold, and it's like this very terrifying scene. And that just got removed, and nothing for anything special in particular. Like we don't really get a sense of the controlling nature of Deidre's aunts. In fact, there's only one aunt so far in the show, Aunt Carletta. And Carletta from the book had a very great description. She felt like she was the youngest of the aunts, but she felt powerful. They kept mentioning she was a lawyer, she was smart, and Anne Rice was able to build this amazing presence around this character. Like you felt like she could take you down with her words and her intellect with simplicity. And the show, though, I'm not trying to hark on the actress, but they cast this lady who has no real intimidation factor. She looked like anyone could take her down, even a little kid. She and we don't really get a scene where she is expressing herself, showing her intellect or anything like that. She just looks like a, once again, I'm trying to be mean, but like an old lady in a dress. I thought it was the actor they got to play Lasher was pretty good. Kind of fit the description how he was in the book. Only difference is when Anne Rice described him in the spirit, she had this description of his clothes almost being fixated on his skin, almost like he's wearing a skin tight suit, or like because he's a spirit and putting on a image, like he kind of messed it up and the clothes and the body line kind of like blended together, which I thought was an awesome description. And here, like he's just wearing this big puffy jacket, which was like, he didn't. Like, you kind of killed the awesome description, but whatever. Yeah, we don't really get a good sense of Lasher in this first episode. We don't get the sense that he's this presence that's been haunting the family for years. Yes, Deidre knows about him. Her aunt knows about him, but it doesn't feel like this generational thing. Now they're probably going to explore that in later episodes, so not like a big negative. Like we'll see how that goes down the line. But I did not really care for that scene where Lasher kind of reveals himself to Dedra. Did it again, didn't I? Yeah, we got this like weird CGI mess where his face is morphing to these different forms, these different people, to this thing with three heads, kind of like the three crones. And while the last shot wasn't particularly bad, this could have been more effective, easily more effective with just cutting to a new actor in the same clothes, just light it enough, like where he's walking in the shadows and another actor steps out, or quick cuts to a new face, and then just hold on that last face like just for a few seconds. That could have been really more effective. You wouldn't have this weird CGI mess, and then you can also focus on the Deidre's actress and her expression of the change, because I really thought she was good, and that probably been a much more effective way to show that scene. Also, just other weird changes I noticed from the book, that when we meet Dedra in the show, she's already young, like I don't know exactly how old she's supposed to be, like probably like 17, 16. maybe older. I'm not exactly sure how old the actress was. But when we meet Dedra, keep saying it, I'm sorry. And the first time in the book, she is a little girl, and this is told from a perspective of a priest who just came to this part of New Orleans, and she's giving this confession. And that's where he first learns about the man, okay, Lasher, and it has like this really interesting and creepy sense to it. Once again, going on this weird ghost tale that Andrew Rice was kind of used, which was a positive negative because we have all these different chapters with all these side characters. We don't really get to know the main characters. But in the show, we had the same scene, but she's already grown, and it loses that impact. And that also goes to where we see the little girls dancing with flowers. These flowers basically taken from something on the church, and the girls getting scolded. And we see Lasher in the background. I'm guessing he moved the flowers for them. That happened in the book too, but in the book, it happened when Deidre herself was a little girl, and Lasher did it for her. He did to entertain her and her friends, but he did this for a bunch of random children in the book, in the show. So paying homage to that scene, but not really doing it. I'm guessing they didn't have the time or the budget for these big, elaborate flashbacks. So I'm guessing they compromised with that. But another weird thing they did for the show, they had this new character, Crispin, I think that his name was. He has this psychic power to touch things and see spirits or see things that happened to the past. Now, this power was held by another character in the book called Michael. Now, Michael has a very long, interesting chapter, probably the longest chapter so far. And if I didn't have to read this book, or this was my first Anne Rice book, I probably would have put it down because how long that chapter was and how much I just didn't really care for his character. But I'm guessing they're mixing him with another character because this character has his power, has his gloves that he used to block his powers, but he's called a different name. So interesting to see where that goes. Another weird, dumb a couple changes I also want to put up, that they changed Ronan's adoptive mother's name. I know that's a dumb change to bring up, but it's like, of all the changes you could have made, why change her name? I'm guessing maybe just to further hide Ronan's identity. We'll see later. Second thing I noticed, that in the show, Ronan's ability to manifest death, to kill just by thinking, has only just now started to pop up. But in the book, it explained this happened throughout her life. One time when she was a child, and she had this bad reaction to a girl who was bullying her. Second time was this guy who tried to assault her. And the third time was her stepfather after they got into an argument. Now, I thought this actually was pretty interesting. Like, Ronan, all these weird things happening around her, and these 3 mysterious deaths that she feels like she caused, that kind of holds a weight on her. Now, in the show, though, it only happens now, and it only happened twice. I guess you say it's maybe because her intuition, that she kind of knows that she did it. But for a doctor, it feels kind of weird for her to instantly jump to, I have superpowers, which she does like around the second time. So yeah, this is seems to be a very interesting show so far. I'm trying not. I'm trying my best not to compare it to Interview the Vampire because I know those stories are very different from the Mayfair stories, which I know they do interconnect later down the line. Have not read that book yet. Hopefully by the end of the year we will. Um, yeah, but just to do a quick like service level comparison to Interview, I think this was not a good pilot compared to Interview's pilot, where everything was just set up so perfectly. Um, this has the main. This has the same issue so far I had with the interview show, that it show felt a little too short. Like it felt like we needed at least one or two more episodes for the season. Now this now I'm only compared to the one episode so far, so please bear with me. But I felt like this needed this pilot needed to be 2 episodes because there's just so much to squeeze in from the book, and just from what they are showing in the show so far, it had everything was just squished in there, and I felt like it was almost being crammed down my throat sometimes. So I hope the pacing gets better, um, especially because, like I said, this is a thick book, baby. The first my copy I have is pretty old. It's a paperback, pretty old paperback. It has 1,043 pages. So if they're gonna try to cram all this into an 8 episode, I say 8 or 7. I think it's gonna be 7 episodes. So yeah, they're trying to cram this into 7 episodes and not try to split it into 2 seasons like you're doing with Interview. I I have bad hopes for this adaptation, ladies and gents, and everything between. Yeah, but I am curious. I'm going to try to keep reading the book along with the show. I'll give my thoughts and feelings on both the book and the show during these videos. So, um, that's that. I have to go. But yes, uh, sorry about that. But yeah, saying I have to go. Thank you for stopping by and listening to my rant. I'm gonna try to get these out at least not as that bad as I did with the interview show. Yeah, but we're gonna try to get these videos out at least a day or two after the episode premieres on AMC Plus. So I hope you come by and enjoy. So if you want to see more of these, please, I would really appreciate you click that like and subscribe button for more of these videos and what other dumb stuff I decide to make. I'll catch you all later.